Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a quick look at Thor, as these new European battleships are now completely released. You can grind towards this ship completely for free now, finally. And I think you should. These are some very powerful utility battleships. As a reminder, you get a radar on a battleship. This is a 10-kilometer radar, and with this build, I've actually got it up to a 30-second duration time. You get a standard of a 25-second duration, and the reload here on these main guns is down around 22 seconds, so you get 2 salvos into a DD. This is also a very tanky battleship with torpedoes. That seems to be the European flavor. So long range, 15-kilometer torps on the tier 10 here. They do a surprising amount of damage as well at 17,500. A bit like gearing torpedoes. So we got ourselves a stealthy, fast battleship line with utility and torpedoes, multiple armaments here. The main guns reload relatively quick. Sounds incredible, right? And it honestly is. This is a very powerful line, especially this tier 10. Low HP pool, gonna be the downside, alongside somewhat trolley dispersion, okay? It's still very good, but Battleship Dispersion 1.8 Sigma, as we're going to see throughout this game, it trolls from time to time. It's still very good guns, though. We get 406s here, 9 of them. And for their caliber, you get great armor-piercing alpha damage. One of the flavors of the American battleships often is that they have higher alpha damage for their caliber, and we get even more alpha damage here than Montana 406s. We get 13,650 AP alpha damage. Yes, we just bracketed that Kremlin. It happens from time to time. Don't worry, we're almost reloaded. That's the specialness here. The HE shells, 5,700 alpha damage and a 36% fire chance, 68 mil pen. Very similar to those Montana HE shells. So well worth swapping over to them, as you don't have the best overmatch at this tier. Especially into battleships, might be a good idea to try and burn them down. The fire chance not too impressive relative to things like Conqueror, Thunder, or anything like that. But it's still good enough, and considering the reload, it's still quite solid as an option to spam. I do prefer AP ships, as you guys know, so I will try to find the flanks to get those opportunities here. I'm hoping that these enemy battleships and cruisers will deal with our Colombo and Sibir in the middle, and I'm trying to play this off flank. I'm a little worried about getting rushed by a submarine or this Jaeger. Notably, we don't have a Hydro here, so it's a little bit challenging to deal with those torp boats. We're quite fast, though. Overall 33 knots, and this engine boost consumable. It's going to take a bit to get used to if you haven't played this line yet, but grinding through it, you'll slowly get the feel for having a 25% engine boost here on the tier 10, and a total action time of 135 seconds. This is one of these consumables you can turn off and on almost at will. You have a minimum usage time of 15 seconds. So what I like to do is use it to accelerate me out of a stop, and then turn it off. You can use it to get a massive top speed. I think you get up over 40 knots with it, which is very fast, but it doesn't last that long, so I prefer to use it for maneuverability buffs rather than just pure top speed. Although there are opportunities where that will be a better option for you. It's flexible. It's a very flexible battleship, and considering the radar utility, it's very hard to actually deal with this ship on a flank. Just gaining an extra radar is often more than enough to win your flank. These consumables or skills that cross over into different classes often turn the battle massively in your favor. Anytime you can have a cruiser with a little bit more armor alongside a battleship means you're just way tankier. That's kind of what battle cruisers bring to their flank. You're just a way tankier flank, you're less likely to lose your ships, and so you often will win the flank that way if you can play well around that strength. Radars are a similar way. If you spawn on a flank with a cruiser and it has a radar, we just gained a second radar for that cap. Very powerful to have these sort of line crossing, class crossing consumables and upgrades on ships. So being a battleship, the first tech tree battleship we're seeing with a radar, it's very, very powerful. Whether or not that's a good thing for the overall health and meta for the game, that's a little bit more debatable. Destroyers sure have a lot of radars to deal with already these days, and to add another one, this time on a battleship, I'm not so sure about that one, but at least it's a 10-kilometer radar here. It's not like, say, a Borodino at tier 8. That one gets a 12-kilometer radar. Still, though, I'm a little surprised that it's not just the radar we see on the European destroyer line, like Gdansk line, where you get 9-kilometer radar, but it's for 12 seconds, something like that. Very short. This one lasts quite a bit longer and is much, much better as a result. This ship also has incredible anti-aircraft, so playing alone on these flanks, you still will die to a carrier that wants to focus you down, but you have incredible amount of flak. You actually get 14 flak bursts out of this ship, an absolute monstrous number. That is the main damage dealer of your AA, if you didn't know. The continuous DPS is there as supplemental damage, but if you actually want to shoot down planes, as we miss a broadside Kremlin somehow, it trolls you from time to time. Don't worry, the Torps are here. The AA is surprisingly good, I would say, on this ship. And those torpedoes, yes. You're basically getting gearing torpedoes. You get 8 of them per side for 16 total. The reload here is a little bit longer, but even 115 seconds is not too bad. 70 knots base speed, 15 kilometer range, 17,500 alpha damage. These torps are very good. You can easily stealth torp. 12.3 kilometer of concealment, very good here as well. And yeah, that HP pool is a little bit low, but the armor here, we got very little superstructure, and we got great upper belt and deck armor. There's just a few shot traps where those torpedoes are. I noticed I ate some damage there. There we go. There's the guns performing. 1.8 Sigma. It's a bit of a dice roll, but you will get those kind of salvos. These have some of the highest shell velocity at tier 10 with the Thor. At tier 8 and tier 9, you're getting 381mm main guns, and they're a little bit slower, okay? But with Thor, you get some of the fastest shell velocity of all the battleships, right up there with Slava, although you're not getting the Slava pen characteristics. Yeah, these 406s don't have the best pen overall, but they're fast, so you don't have to actually lead your target too much. It means, though, that arcing over some of these islands on these newer maps is a little bit more challenging. That's kind of the downside of fast shell velocity, but overall, that is a massive benefit to this ship. It's got a lot of tools, and this whole line has got a lot of tools. I played through the tier 8 and the tier 9 when they came to early access, and they were pretty solid. Honestly, spam some HE, swap to the armor piercing when you get some broadside opportunities into those cruisers. Even upper belts on battleships, lower tiers certainly, battleships have a lot less armor, and so you're going to get through some of their citadels. Things like North Carolina, it's like 300mm of their citadel armor. You can easily get through that. It's not like at tier 10 where things like Kremlin, you know, you're approaching 500mm of armor with the angling there. You do want a little bit more pen. So overall, it's going to be a solid line, and it goes all the way down to tier 4 actually. So this is a situation where you have a pretty much a full new line. We often don't see that, which I think is really cool. I'm really happy to see an entire line be developed. This is kind of a new thing these days, so I'm really excited about that. Although mainly the higher tier ones is where you get all these new tools, like the radar, for example, and that's really where the flavor of this line comes out. Jaeger about to go dark. Oh, no, you don't. I don't use the radar too much in this battle, but it is still great utility. Check out the original video on Thor if you want to see a little bit more opportunities with that radar, because it really is an absolute game changer of a consumable on a battleship. I will say, though, as you're grinding, you may notice, especially at the tier 9, you do lack on the firing angles, especially when kited. 44-degree firing angles feels pretty bad on relatively low HP for your tier. That's, I think, what allows Thor to feel pretty good, even though we do have quite low HP. There's no special super heal or anything like that here, just standard heals. It's the armor allowing us to stay relatively well angled, and we're not taking a lot of damage through that angled armor plating. If we go broadside, we can eat citadels, as we saw a little bit earlier on. Yamato plunging fire citadeled us earlier in this battle. You got to watch out for your broadside, and so having these decent firing angles here on the tier 10, it's like 32 degrees forward, 34 degrees backwards. That's enough to be well angled, so we shouldn't eat too much damage. It can happen from time to time, but it's not so massive that this HP pool becomes a big downside. But at tier 9, you get a 44-degree firing angle backwards. But tier 8, 37 forward, 36 backwards. It kind of changes as you go through the line. But what doesn't change is going to be this incredible concealment and a relatively solid armor layout. So assuming you're picking your engagements well, it's not as big a deal to have the worst firing angles, and the decent rudder shift, decent maneuverability here throughout the line is going to allow you to avoid a lot of that incoming damage, which you will need to do. If you get caught broadside, though, yeah, these things are definitely going to suffer, as you do have somewhat exposed citadels here. It's waterline, it's not that bad, but considering the low HP pool, any damage you're eating to your broadside that is more than 10 to 15,000 feels like a massive chunk of your HP pool, and it certainly is going to take you out of the battle a lot quicker. Trying to get up close to use your radar can mean you get baited into dying early. I know I felt that earlier on when playing Thor, as well as the rest of this line. It's somewhat tanky, but even so, you will eat some damage and you can go down. There's no super healing here. And while the concealment is quite good, it's not matching your radar range, so there are options where you do just get permanently spotted and get focused down. I'm sure I don't need to tell you how quickly ships are at dealing with enemy battleships that push in. I'm always a big fan of seeing an enemy battleship push whenever I'm playing some DPM cruiser, any of the battleships as well. It's great to see enemies pushing in towards me. Feels like a lot of free damage, and so greeting for your radar too much in the early game may get you killed with this line. So be a little bit careful with that one. The low HP pool is certainly a disadvantage here, but overall, it's just a really, really strong battleship line, and the tier 10 especially brings so much utility and overall tankiness. This isn't a situation where, like Rhode Island, for example, is another tier 10 battleship with a radar. That one has pretty weak armor, very, very large superstructure, alongside having overmatchable bow and stern sections. Not so here. So we can push in the late game here when we've used quite a few of our radars and still brawl it out and not take too much damage. Enemy Bourgogne here. We do have to take him out to win this game, as you can see here. Score timer letting us know that. Very, very close battle in this one. Absolutely love to see it. Having an absolute blast here with the Thor. And the submarine torpedoes are going to help us out a ton in this one. If we got a little closer, I do think our Torps probably would have finished them off, although you saw they got both temporarily knocked out there. Yeah, they are a little bit exposed Torps on our sides, so you will have to be a little bit mindful of when to use your repair on those temporary damage Torps to get them back right away. Fortunately, module damage is not permanent anymore, so it's not like your Torps get permanently knocked out. If that was still a thing, I would have rated this a lot lower as a torpedo-focused battleship, as I found the Torps do get knocked somewhat regularly, but I don't have to worry about that, which is a really good change they did a while ago. And as for the build here, it's pretty basic. You just want to up the tankiness of this ship, and if you can, extend the consumable duration a little bit. It's basically the same all the way up. This is not a ship where you want to go with secondaries. There is no benefit to accuracy here, so their hitting DPM is extremely low. Even though it does seem to have like Holland turrets as secondaries, they're not worth going for. The torpedoes are pretty good on their own, so don't need too much buffs either. You could go for it. The reason I think you want to go for main guns, though, is it synergizes so well with your radar. Using some of the special upgrades like surveillance radar mod here get me up to a 30-second action time, means that we pretty comfortably get 2 salvos in on whatever we're radaring, assuming they don't leave our radar range, which certainly can happen, but getting in that second salvo out more consistently is extremely good for team play and winning your flank. As for the build here, I really like Gunfeeder on this ship. The AP is very good, but doesn't always have the best pennant range. You're not always going to get very broadside targets. See the beginning of this battle I had for you today. So swap over to that HE. Still does decent damage overall, but try to get to that AP if you can. And of course, we want things like Adrenaline Rush. The boost here on Swirsky is very nice. And then I'm taking things like Furious instead of our 5th heal here, as I can just greed out a 5th heal on improved repair party readiness. Since our HP is so low, this bonus to our consumable or our heals cooldown is actually a lot better. Since we don't have as much HP, we get more cooldown reduction a lot faster than, say, things with 100,000 HP. A lot of battleships at tier 10 can have that. And considering the armor, yeah, we can get to 2 million potential damage pretty easily. At least that's what I was finding. Definitely take Concealment Expert. 12.3 Detect is incredible for a battleship. And of course, Fire Prevention. Pretty simple to have there. I will say, though, Brisk combined with this engine boost is pretty hilarious for your top speed. So that could be worthwhile looking into as well. This consumable is extremely good. Using it for maneuverability, using it for top speed, very, very flexible to have these consumables that you can turn off and on pretty much at will. This seems to be the gimmick they're interested in as of late. It'll be very interesting to see if they ever do that with radars. I would assume it's only a matter of time. That sounds absolutely crazy power level, to be honest with you. One of the downsides here being that it's a bit of a cooldown to get between our radars here, which is a good thing, okay? It's counterplay options. But being able to flick these consumables on and off is It's extremely powerful, okay? And on top of that 25% maximum speed, that's very, very good. Strong ships, all the way along, strong ships. Gustav and I don't even know how to pronounce this one. I tried in my initial video. I don't know, man. They're very strong ships. Lower HP pools, but they have good armor, man. They have really, really good armor for their tiers. Gustav gets a little bit more superstructure, a little worse kiting angles. But the Torps, the utility, the tankiness, they're very, very powerful new battleship line and well worth grinding out. And gotta hype you guys back up on these. I find with the early access, some of the hype gets lost because we get to see them 2 months before everybody can actually get access to them. So I'm gonna try and do this a little bit more, get some hype back into when these ships come available for everyone. 40 mil deck armor, 70 mil upper belt here. Very, very strong. But there are shot traps, right? These little Torp cutouts here are definitely shot traps here on this tier 10. Notably, look at the tier 9. There's a little bit of a deck armor here that covers it, so you don't have to worry about that quite so much. So interestingly, Thor feels, if you get hit center mass, it feels a little bit less tanky. You're trying to bait people into hitting up here or a little bit further back, and maybe that's where the engine boost comes into play. Very powerful line, and now everybody gets access to them to grind out, which I absolutely love. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.